I'm Evelyn, 28 years old, and if you'd asked me 6 months ago where I saw myself now, I'd have said happily climbing the corporate ladder in Austin, Texas. No drama, no complications. But life has a funny way of twisting your plans into something you never saw coming. It all started at my job as a mid-level marketing specialist at AdVibe, a buzzing advertising agency known for its fast-paced environment and cutthroat ambitions. That's where he came in, Carter, our new CEO. At first glance, he was every bit the charismatic leader. Sharp suit, confident smile, and an aura that screamed power. But beneath that polished exterior was something unsettling. Things were fine, well, as fine as they could be under a demanding boss, until Mia, my best friend since college, dropped a bombshell. Guess what? I'm moving to Austin, she texted one evening. My heart leapt with excitement. Having Mia here would be like bringing a piece of home to this chaotic city. But then came the kicker. Oh, and I'm engaged to Carter. Engaged to Carter. The same Carter who had been sending lingering glances my way during meetings? The same Carter who insisted on casual coffee breaks with me, even though we both knew they weren't casual at all? At first I tried brushing it off. Maybe I was overthinking things. But then the subtle shifts began. Carter started assigning me extra projects, late-night emails became frequent, and his tone grew familiar. Too familiar. One day, after yet another impromptu meeting in his office, I walked back to my desk feeling uneasy. It wasn't just the workload, it was the way he looked at me, like he was trying to read my thoughts. Or worse, like he owned them. I wanted to distance myself, but the harder I tried, the more entangled I felt. Every time I thought about confronting him, I froze. What if I ruined everything? Not just my job, but also Mia's happiness. And so I stayed silent. For now. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something far more complicated and dangerous than I could imagine. Mia arrived in Austin 2 weeks later, her energy infectious as ever. Over brunch at a trendy cafe downtown, she gushed about her upcoming wedding and how perfect Carter was. Perfect. The word stuck in my throat like a shard of glass. He's amazing, Evie, she said, her eyes sparkling. You'll love working with him. He's so supportive, so driven. Supportive? Driven? Sure, if by supportive, she meant constantly breathing down my neck, and by driven, she meant pushing boundaries I didn't realize existed until now. The next day at work, Carter cornered me in the hallway. How's Mia settling in? He asked, his voice smooth as silk. Fine, I replied curtly, avoiding his gaze. Good. She's lucky to have someone like you looking out for her. His words sounded innocent enough, but there was an undertone. A challenge almost that made my skin crawl. Then came the projects. One after another, each more unreasonable than the last. Late nights became the norm, and Carter always found excuses to check in. Just making sure you're handling everything okay, he'd say, hovering near my desk like a shadow I couldn't escape. Meanwhile, Mia started noticing. You seem stressed lately, she remarked during one of our calls. Is everything all right at work? Yeah, just busy, I lied, forcing a laugh. But the cracks were already forming. One evening, while scrolling through Instagram, I stumbled upon a photo of Carter and Mia at some charity gala. They looked happy, radiant even. And yet, all I could think about was the tension simmering beneath the surface, the secrets I carried, the guilt gnawing at me. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, torn between loyalty to Mia and survival in this toxic workplace. Carter wasn't just my boss anymore. He was a storm brewing on the horizon, and I had no idea how bad it would get before it finally broke. Things escalated quickly after that charity gala photo. Carter's behavior became increasingly erratic, or perhaps I was just more aware of it now. He'd call me into his office under the guise of urgent matters, only to spend half the meeting discussing trivial details while leaning too close for comfort. His eyes would linger on mine, and I could feel my stomach churn with unease. One night, as I was packing up to leave, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Carter. Still at the office? Need you to review these numbers before tomorrow. I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. It wasn't unusual for him to send work-related messages late, but this felt different, like he was testing me. Reluctantly, I replied, "On it." By the time I finished, it was nearly midnight. As I walked to my car, I noticed Carter's sleek black sedan still parked in the lot. My heart skipped a beat when I saw him leaning against it, arms crossed, watching me. "You stayed late," he said, his tone somewhere between approval and accusation. "It's part of the job," I muttered, avoiding eye contact. He took a step closer. "You're dedicated. I appreciate that." The way he said it made my skin crawl. Was this praise or manipulation? I couldn't tell anymore. Meanwhile, Mia grew suspicious. She started asking questions about Carter's management style, probing gently but persistently. "Does he pressure you at work?" she asked one evening. "No, not really," I lied, hating myself for it. But I couldn't hide the truth forever. One day, Mia called me out of the blue. "Evelyn, are you sure everything's okay? You've been acting distant." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. How could I explain without betraying her trust or destroying our friendship? That night, lying awake in bed, I realized I was trapped. Between Carter's growing influence and Mia's growing suspicions, I felt like a bird caught in a shrinking cage. The air was getting thinner, and I didn't know how much longer I could hold my breath. Carter's tactics became bolder. He began assigning me tasks outside my job description, knowing full well they'd keep me tied to the office long after everyone else had left. When I hesitated, he'd flash that disarming smile and say, "You're the only one I can trust with this, Evelyn." Trust. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. Daniel noticed the strain on my face during lunch breaks. "Something's off with you," he said one afternoon. "Is it Carter?" I froze, unsure how much to reveal. "It's nothing," I mumbled, stirring my coffee absent-mindedly. "You don't have to deal with this alone," he pressed, his voice firm but gentle. His concern touched me, but I couldn't risk dragging him into this mess. Not yet. Then came the moment that changed everything. I was grabbing documents from Carter's office when I overheard him on a call with Mia. "She's unreliable," he said, his tone dismissive. "Always questioning my decisions, making things difficult." My blood ran cold. He was talking about me. "And Evelyn?" Mia's voice came through faintly. "Do you think she's hiding something?" "Honestly, I wouldn't put it past her," Carter replied smoothly. "She's always been unpredictable." Unpredictable. The word stung like a slap. I stumbled back, clutching the folder to my chest. My mind reeled as I processed what I just heard. How could he twist the truth so effortlessly? And worse, how could Mia believe him? That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at the ceiling. Carter wasn't just manipulating me. He was poisoning Mia against me. The realization crushed me, leaving behind a hollow ache. I needed to fight back. But how? Mia confronted me the very next day. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Evelyn, I need to ask you something. Is there anything going on between you and Carter?" The question blindsided me. "What? No. Why would you even think that?" "Because he told me," she said, her eyes searching mine. "He said you've been undermining him, questioning his authority." "That's not true," I snapped, anger bubbling to the surface. "He's lying to you, Mia." She flinched at my tone. "Why would he lie? He's my fiancé, Evelyn. He loves me." Love. The word sounded hollow coming from her lips now. Unable to take it anymore, I marched straight to Carter's office. "We need to talk," I demanded, slamming the door shut behind me. Carter raised an eyebrow, unfazed. "Is something wrong? You poisoned Mia against me," I accused, my voice shaking with fury. "You twisted everything to make me look bad." He leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Careful, Evelyn. Accusations like that could ruin your career and your reputation." His calm demeanor infuriated me. "You're a manipulative bastard," I spat. "And I won't let you control me anymore." For the first time, his mask slipped. His eyes narrowed and his voice turned icy. "You're playing a dangerous game. Don't forget who holds all the cards." As I stormed out of his office, I realized the truth. Carter wasn't just a toxic boss. He was a predator, feeding off vulnerability and fear. And I was done being his prey. I sat at my desk that evening, staring blankly at the glowing screen in front of me. The weight of everything pressed down on my chest like a boulder I couldn't move. Carter's manipulation had become unbearable, but exposing him felt like throwing a grenade into my life, and Mia's too. Daniel approached quietly, pulling up a chair beside me. "You can't keep living like this," he said firmly. He's toxic and you know it. I know, I whispered, my voice trembling. But what if telling the truth ruins everything? What if it destroys Mia? Would you rather stay silent and let him win? Daniel shot back. His words struck a nerve. Staying silent meant letting Carter continue his games, not just with me but possibly with others. But speaking up meant risking the one friendship I held most dear. The next day, I found myself scrolling through old emails from Carter. His late-night messages, thinly veiled compliments, and thinly disguised demands. Each one was a thread in the web he'd spun around me. My hands hovered over the keyboard as I considered forwarding them to HR. Then my phone buzzed. It was Mia. Hey, can we grab coffee? I need to talk. Her tone was casual, but something about it set off alarms in my head. Was she onto me? Had Carter planted more seeds of doubt? We met at a cozy cafe downtown, and for the first time I noticed how distant she seemed. Evelyn, she began hesitantly, Carter mentioned you've been unhappy lately. Is there something going on? My heart sank. He was playing her again, twisting reality to suit his narrative. I wanted to scream the truth, to tell her exactly who he really was. But instead I forced a smile. I'm fine, Mia. Just stressed with work. She didn't look convinced. As I walked home that night, I realized my options were dwindling. Every choice felt like stepping into quicksand, pulling me deeper into chaos. If I stayed silent, Carter would keep winning. If I spoke up, I risked losing Mia forever. My life felt like a chessboard, every move fraught with danger. And yet, I knew I couldn't stay frozen forever. The question was, which piece would I sacrifice first? It took me 3 sleepless nights to gather the courage and the evidence. I compiled screenshots of Carter's messages, documented instances of his manipulative behavior, and even recorded a voicemail where he subtly threatened me under the guise of concern. By the time I walked into HR's office, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the folder. This is serious, the HR manager said after reviewing my documents. We'll handle this discreetly, but you should prepare for fallout. Fallout came sooner than I expected. Later that week, rumors spread like wildfire through the office. Carter's smug demeanor faltered when HR called him in for questioning. By Friday he was gone, fired without severance or references. But the victory felt hollow. Mia confronted me 2 days later, her eyes red and swollen. Why didn't you tell me? She demanded, her voice breaking. Why did I have to hear it from him? Him. Of course, Carter had already spun his version of events. He made it sound like you were obsessed with him, she cried. Like you fabricated all of this because you were jealous. I'm not jealous, I shouted, tears streaming down my face. I did this to protect you. To protect us. For a moment, she just stared at me, her expression torn between anger and disbelief. Then slowly her shoulders sagged. I don't know what to believe anymore, she admitted quietly. That night, Carter texted me. A desperate attempt to save face. You ruined everything. You think you're so righteous, but you're just as flawed as the rest of us. His words stung, but they no longer scared me. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of control returning. I deleted the message without responding. This wasn't about him anymore. It was about reclaiming my life. Weeks passed, and though the scars remained, things began to heal, slowly, painfully. Mia and I started meeting for coffee again. Awkward at first, but gradually finding our rhythm. She avoided talking about Carter, and I didn't push her. Instead, we focused on smaller things. Art exhibits she'd visited, books she'd read, memories from college that reminded us both of simpler times. At work, the atmosphere shifted. Without Carter's shadow looming over us, the office felt lighter, freer. My colleagues treated me differently now, not with pity but with respect. Even Daniel seemed proud of me, though he kept his distance, sensing I wasn't ready for anything more. One evening, after a particularly long day, he caught up with me in the parking lot. You've come a long way, he said softly. I'm proud of you. Thanks, I replied, managing a small smile. Listen. He hesitated, then took a deep breath. If you ever want someone to lean on, I'm here. Not just as a friend. His words hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning. Part of me wanted to say yes, to let him be my safe harbor. But another part knew I wasn't ready. Not yet. I appreciate that, I said finally. But I need to focus on myself right now. He nodded, understanding. Whenever you're ready, I'll be here. As I drove home that night, I thought about how far I'd come. My heart still bore the scars of betrayal and loss, but beneath the ashes, something new was growing. Like a garden ravaged by fire, tender shoots were beginning to emerge. And maybe, just maybe, I'd find peace again someday. Months later, Mia invited me to her apartment for dinner. She looked different, stronger somehow. When she handed me a glass of wine, I noticed her left hand was bare. No ring. I ended it, she said simply, meeting my gaze. With Carter. Relief washed over me, followed by guilt. Are you okay? She exhaled sharply. It wasn't easy, but staying with him would have destroyed me. He lied, manipulated, and used me, all while pretending to love me. I can't forgive that. Her words echoed my own thoughts, validating everything I'd fought for. I'm sorry you had to go through that, I murmured. So am I, she admitted. But I'm glad you stood up to him. Even if it hurt, it woke me up. That night, as we talked late into the evening, I realized how much we'd both grown. We weren't the same people who'd blindly trusted Carter. We were stronger now, wiser. The following week, Carter tried reaching out to me again. A barrage of texts, emails, and even calls flooded my phone. But this time I didn't hesitate. I blocked his number, deleted his emails, and shut him out completely. For the first time in years, I felt free. Free from guilt, free from fear, free from the chains of his manipulation. And I vowed never to let anyone take that freedom away again. By spring, Mia and I had rebuilt our friendship. Not perfectly, but authentically. We laughed more, argued less, and shared silences that spoke louder than words. She confessed she'd enrolled in therapy to process everything, and I admired her courage. As for me, I decided it was time for a change. The city that once felt like home now carried too many ghosts. So when an opportunity arose in Portland, Oregon, I didn't hesitate. On my last day in Austin, Mia hugged me tightly. Promise me you'll visit, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I promise, I replied, blinking back tears. Driving away from the city, I felt a strange mix of sadness and excitement. Leaving behind the past wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I'd learned the hard way that boundaries weren't walls, they were bridges to self-respect. In Portland, I rented a small apartment overlooking the Willamette River. The view was breathtaking, a constant reminder of how vast and unpredictable life could be. I didn't know what the future held, but for the first time I was okay with that, because I finally understood. Walking away wasn't running, it was choosing. Choosing to step into the unknown, knowing I deserved better. And that was enough.